Okay, all right. Let's. So this is the weekend edition of the SaaSberry podcast, and today I'm here without Chase, but I'm sure we can handle it. So let's. I wanted to introduce Juarez Lowe with Bumi Data AI, based out of Kuala Lumpur, or is it
Indonesia.
Indonesia?
I'm between Indonesia and Malaysia.
Cool. So why don't you introduce yourself? Yes.
Hey, Steve. Thanks for having me. My name's Juarez. I've been working in the AI space for about 8 or 9 years. Started off my career as a lawyer, graduated in 1995, worked through the Asian financial crisis. In 2001, I moved into Singapore. 2002, I did my MBA, came back, worked in leadership and training for about 11 years. And after that, I went into AI because I said that AI is something that can help people do their jobs easier. So I've been leading the charge for digitalization in the oil and gas industry now for about 8 years
Right.
in Indonesia and Malaysia.
Great. And just to give everybody a bit of context on how I end up knowing Juarez and I went to high school together. So we've known each other for 40 years. So that's a long time. We go way back as teenagers, and our lives have kind of gone through different paths. You went to school in the U.S. I ended up in Canada, in Vancouver specifically, and our careers have kind of end up in IT somehow. In somewhat different paths. I end up in an engineering path, and you're on a business path. So, and one thing that I should note that you are when you started out in AI, you were in the OG territory, right? I mean, you were in kind of algorithmic AI. We weren't even in the transformer age, right? So this is a privilege to talk to someone who has long legs in the sector, right? So let's jump right into it. So what are the lessons you've learned in the AI business in that region? Specifically, again, your focus is primarily in the energy sector, right? So what are the lessons you've learned in working in that region?
Okay, so Steve, I think that's a great point you put out there. So when I first started working, we woke up and we said, look, this makes a lot of sense. So the first lesson I want to say is that if a technological solution makes sense, it may not always be easy to commercialize.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to go back and say, is it in the budget? In 2017, Petronas didn't even have a sweat code for AI software, let alone a budget.
Really?
So yeah, I mean, and remember, it goes back to what Miller Heinemann in corporate sales says. If I'm trying to sell you something, Steve, it's got to be something which is if you implement it, it's the reason you got hired, fired, or rewarded. And no one in 2017 got hired, fired, or rewarded for lack of an AI software.
Yes.
So
So
maybe,
true.
when you're looking at being the pioneer, yeah, it's wonderful. But there was also no budget for it. So they had to find the budget.
Yes.
So the most important lesson, I think, is we can have the best solution. It can make sense, but we have to work within the constraints of the corporate and the overall market and understand that. We can't get too caught up in the fact that our solution is the best thing since sliced bread.
Actually, that's actually a good segue into talking about the state of AI right now, because obviously when you guys started, it was different, and right now it's a totally different landscape. Tell me what it is like in the energy sector of AI right now.
Okay. I think it's a lot. A lot has changed since 2017. I mean, this is obviously pre-NVIDIA and pre-buzzwords and pre-generative AI, pre-chat GPT. Now people do want AI in their business. They do want AI to help them do their jobs. They do understand it. There is also a bit of a fear of AI that it may take away their jobs.
From the management standpoint, like you talk to a lot of people in C-suites across many different enterprises in that sector. What are they telling you? What's driving them? What's their impetus to invest in AI, to actually buy solutions AI these days?
Okay. So if we look at the oil and gas industry, I mean, I'll just take the oil and gas industry as a whole, right? What's it like? They do have very good margins, but they do have fluctuating oil and gas prices. Within Southeast Asia, they have a declining reserve. So what do they need to do? They need to make sure that unplanned deferment is as low as possible and they're optimizing processes. So if you take, for example, an oil and gas platform churning out 10,000 barrels a day, even at $50 a barrel, every day of downtime is $500,000 US. And when it goes down, it doesn't go down for one day. It goes down for 10 days. So that's $5 million burnt on one platform. In Malaysia, there are 300 platforms. In Indonesia, there's 600 platforms. So you can do the numbers.
You're
That's a
kidding.
lot of money. But not all of them are churning out that amount. But still, there's billions of dollars left on the table when they have unplanned deferment, process inefficiencies. The AI software that we do allows them to, number one, predict future downtime. Number two, optimize processes. So if we know how fast to run the equipment before it blows, then they can avoid it. You may have a Ferrari. You can run it at 8,000 RPM. The question is, how long can you do it for? So those are the things that we do. Now, you're right. Sorry, that was a bit of a sideway, but I'm going to move back into what the C-suites want. The C-suites want to look at optimizing what humans can do.
Mhm.
Now, if you look at an oil and gas platform, even if it's a 30, 40-year-old platform or 50-year-old platform, which it is in Malaysia and Indonesia, that churns out 30 to 50 billion data points a year. Now, none of your engineers, no engineer you know is going to raise your hand and say, I want to look at 50 billion data points a year.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And when you tell them, hey, please look at the last 3 years worth of data, that's
Yeah.
a lot of data. The AI makes their life easier. The C-suite want to use AI to enhance productivity. Now, that's a C-suite. Middle management, 50-50. The front line are a bit worried for their jobs
Right.
because some oil and gas companies around the region are doing what's called right sizing. So we still have to manage the human element.
Right.
Whatever technology you have to acknowledge a human element and you have to acknowledge the need for change management.
Right. So then, where is that bottleneck in the process that's causing this friction?
Well, I mean, first of all, you raise a very good word, process. In the oil and gas industry, the sales cycles are long. There is a joke in the oil and gas industry, whatever your forecast is for software sales, halve it. Whatever your time frame is, double it. So, yeah, the sales process can take 9 months, a year for a contract to be done up, including the vendor registration. The process alone is a bit of a bottleneck, but it's also implementation in the front line. How to get the guys to use it regularly. How to change people's behavior. I mean, the secret to weight loss, Steve, is very straightforward. Eat less, exercise more. But how many people, everyone knows it, who does it?
So true. So absolutely true. And I'm sure that a lot of people can relate to that. You know, just pulling something in that you and I both are passionate about, and that's tennis, right? So you use Swing Vision, and that used to been using Swing Vision for what 2 3 years about that, and so um, so your motivation to subscribe and use Swing Vision and invest in it has almost similarities to how enterprise would choose to adopt a certain software or technology or approach. So how do you look at that in almost the same kind of parallel pattern?
Okay, Steve, you and me are very seasoned entrepreneurs.
Yes.
So we're not the bulk of the people or employees. So I think we're self-driven.
Yes.
You want to get better at your tennis game.
Right.
You will go through the pain to get better at your tennis game. You will go through the investment and testing a racket. You will tweak the strings. You will also go through the physical pain of rehab, of injuries, and fight through it and work out strategies. So we're quite maybe outside the curve.
Hmm. Hmm.
So if I were to talk about regular adoption,
Hmm.
I would put a few things. If you're looking at putting AI in your organization, number one, you need a change management team.
Right.
Number two, you need to make sure that the AI is embedded in the daily process.
Right.
For example, if we have a tool like Swing Vision or the BDM VROC predictive maintenance software, when do they have to look at it? Is it whenever they need to, whenever it's necessary, then it becomes something way down on the priority list? Is
Yes.
it if you say they need to refer to it and it's written to be the SOP in the daily operation meeting?
Yes.
That's a different matter.
Yes. Absolutely.
So the other thing is the leadership has to drive it.
Yeah.
It's not the vendor, because the CEO has to say, okay, what did the predictive maintenance software tell you
Right.
whenever there's a problem, instead of, hey, go fix the problem? No, what did the software tell you? What
Right.
have you done? Software is wrong. Okay, why is it wrong? What do we need to do to fix it?
Right. So that speaks to a cultural resistance, isn't it? On the basically the people who actually are using the software. Would you say there's a certain level of distrust about the data and recommendations that are coming out of it? And if there is, why is that?
Well, it's human. We forget the human element when we look at technology adoption.
Mm-hmm.
When we first did this in 2018, we had guys who said, you know what, I know when the machine will fail. Do you know how I know? This. It's my finger. When I put my finger on the machine, I will know exactly when it will fail.
Yeah.
It's probably not HSE or safe practices to stick your finger around a piece of rotating. I mean, I'm just being
Yes.
facetious here,
Absolutely.
but yeah, you get those people who say, you know what, I've eaten more salt than you've eaten rice. I've been there a while.
Mm-hmm.
So I know when it will fail. So you need to say, look, this makes your life easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And in the case of the good news is that what we do in terms of our AI is we don't just look at the piece of rotating equipment. Now, the rotating equipment may only be 20% of the failure. 80% of the failure of the rotating equipment has nothing to do with the rotating equipment. Like we give our tennis analogy, Steve. If you have a bad knee, your doctor treats the knee. Come back a month later, you still got a problem with your knee. Why? Because your problem with the knee wasn't the knee. It was your ITB.
That's right.
And the doctor treats it again and he figures out it's not your ITB, it's actually your hip.
Yes.
And your hip is stiff. So if
Yeah.
you fix the stiff hip, that's the root cause.
Yes.
Now, in tennis, most people just fix the knee.
Yes.
They don't even go up to the ITB. In
Yeah.
real life work, they don't even go up to, forget about 10% of the time they'll go up to the hip.
Yes.
So here it says, look, we have a tool which allows you to go straight to the hip, use it. So yeah, we get some people who think it's almost challenging them. The AI also is an unbiased data analytics. So I don't care whether it's Steve who changed a filter or Juarez who changed a filter. We had one case of, we predicted when the compressor was going to trip, and we said it was due to the filter. So the
Yes.
guys went out to the field, changed a filter. The AI said, look, filter is still going to cause the trip. The trip's still going to happen, and it's caused by the filter.
Right.
So the guy said, look, Juarez, there's something wrong with your AI. We said, no, it's unbiased. Go look at the filter again. So
Yeah.
bit of a talk. They looked at the filter. It was changed, but it was put the wrong way around.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, you can help them, right? So, when we talk to our clients these days, what's happening is that they actually have a lot of use cases for AI, but a couple of problems. One is prioritization, and the other is that they don't necessarily have the skill set to understand the high value, high feasibility aspect, right? They see the value in it, but it has to be high feasibility when it comes to the implementation of it. And a lot of times these use cases are introduced in such a way that there's actually not a right fit when it comes to the application or the tooling of the AI to make a difference. And so we engage them and say, hey, maybe it needs to be doing this instead, or the process needs to be broken into these kind of workflows in order for it to work. So on your end, when you guys roll out these solutions with your clients, do you run into challenges where they are sometimes trying to fit a square peg in a round hole type scenario?
Sometimes. I mean, we've been fortunate a lot of times. When the first time we started, we were dealing with a compressor, gas compressor Moto 3, which was running every 10 days. So it tripped every 10 days,
Mhm.
which is quite bad. So we were in a situation where the engineers had a lot of heat on them. So I think if you have a situation where the engineers have a lot of heat, they have to fix this problem
Yes.
because they're incurring millions of US dollars, not just in unplanned deferment, but also flaring fines.
Right.
But then they will all club together and figure out a way to make this tool work. Remember, AI is a tool.
Mm-hmm.
If you use a screwdriver when you need a wrench, it's not
Right.
going to work. Don't blame the tool.
That's true. Absolutely true. Yeah.
So I think we've been fortunate enough to find managers along the way who do that.
Yeah.
But we still do get challenges in terms of, okay, it's fixed a problem, but you are going to get other problems because your platforms are 40 or 50 years old.
Yes.
So sometimes people think it's a SaaS. So, hey, we can stop subscription. It will work for another 3-6 months, but something else will come and blow up later. So, yeah, something we do face.
So looking at the last 2-3 years, can you talk about a success story that comes to mind that you feel, wow, this is one where we hit it right out of the park. This is one we shot at the top of our buildings about how well we did, right? So could you talk about one of those success stories?
Okay. First of all, I think when you're looking at a tool, we can shout out about how great our tool is. But I think the key thing that I'm shouting about is how well these guys wielded the tool.
Mm.
It's a sword, Steve. If you don't know how to use it, you can use it to cut grass.
Yeah.
So I think I can talk about the way that they implemented it. We had a couple of cases. We had one with that gas compressor Moto 3,
Yes.
because this was tripping every 10 days. Every 2 or 3 days, longest it ran without a trip was 14 days. We had the right manager in place and the right engineer in place.
Yes.
Within a few months of implementation, the compressor managed to run for 4.5 months without a trip.
Right.
When it did trip, it happened to human error. So that was one where from running a maximum of 14 days, it ran 4.5 months.
Right.
And another case happened in Turkmenistan.
Really?
Yeah. So if you look at my passport and my team's passport, none of us have a CHOP in Turkmenistan. I would like to tell you that my team are dedicated to remote operations and devise this as part of our roadmap, but I'd be lying. It happened because of COVID. We couldn't go to Turkmenistan.
Yeah.
But we implemented our SaaS in Turkmenistan.
Right. Right.
So none of us went there physically. We just take the data. It's like my Garmin. You just take the data, process it. So we were looking at a gas turbine generator. In fact, 3 of them. Due to whatever unforeseen circumstances, normally you have 1 GTG running, 3 were running, and they have 2 backup.
Yeah.
Something happened, 1 burnt. So when 1 burns, engineers are a bit worried because they might have cannibalized one of them. And they want to make sure that it continues running. I mean, this is standard, right?
It happens in the ground, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So when they only have 1, suddenly the country head called me up.
Mm-hmm.
He said, Juarez, I need to see you. Now, when the country head calls you up, there's an 80% chance it's to bang table with you and say you haven't performed, and only a 20% chance to say thank you. So he came and saw me and he thanked me.
Really?
Because when he met me, it had run for 4 months without a trip.
Wow.
So that was a success story because we did it remotely.
Yes.
And it proved that you can have the thing about the AI, that you can have your control room 10 meters away from the plant, or you can have it 10,000 miles away from the plant. Yes. That's the main thing to visualize.
So let's change gears as we get to the end of our podcast. Tell me about, what do you see, let's say 5 years from now, let's say 2030, right? Actually, you know what? That's probably unrealistic because of how fast things are changing. Let's say long term being 3 years, 2028. Where do you see AI being? Where do you see the adoption? Where do you see the trends? Where do you see the reality on the ground?
Okay, wow. I wish I could do this with my stock portfolio and metal portfolio, Steve.
We're swinging darts, aren't we?
Monkeys swinging darts might be more accurate than us. Okay, but yeah, I see AI as being a lot more prevalent. I mean, it already is. And you see the younger generation using ChatGPT. I think as we see the oil and gas has a lot of people who are in their 60s, and so as they retire and the younger generation come in, I see the adoption, an increase in adoption of AI. That is without a doubt. But what I see as the things that people forget about is number one, data readiness.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Because no one gets the Steve or Juarez award for cleaning data. It's a toilet. I expect it to be clean.
Yes.
But it never, I mean, unlike the toilet, it never is clean. It's never I mean, take a look at my iPhone and, I'd be lying to you if I told you that my photos album is beautifully kept and all, you know. Yeah, so I think we need to look at the building blocks being data readiness.
It's garbage in and garbage out, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's also data, getting the correct data, teaching the AI to work with imperfect data, which
Yeah.
is something that our team have been doing because we told our team perfect data is a unicorn. It's like the perfect spouse. It doesn't
Absolutely.
exist.
And
So
that cuts
train the
across
AI to work
all
with it.
that cuts across all verticals, all businesses. That is just the reality on the ground. The perfect demo you see on stage never happens.
Well, it didn't even in Microsoft once when it was launched. So yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So yeah, definitely. I see the adoption being there. I do see one caveat though. I think we still must remember to use our brains.
Mm,
I mean, as someone who uses Waze sometimes or Google Maps, sometimes I switch it off and I still keep my brain on and work on the route that I know.
yes. What advice would you give, say, somebody from Suncor is listening to this podcast, and they say, what would the advice you give them when it comes to their AI journey?
Someone from what? Sorry?
Suncor or any of the large energy companies.
Okay. Okay. Fix number one, use the AI to fix a real business problem. So you need to say, look, AI is not there for the sake of having a really cool, shiny toy. You need to say, this is my business. Start with whatever business problem you have, unplanned deferment or flaring fines or process optimization, and say, I need to fix this problem. Then choose the tool.
Yes,
Don't do it the other way around.
yes,
And
absolutely.
then the other thing is that, I mean, sometimes engineers, and even though I'm not an engineer, I've worked with enough engineers to feel I might even qualify for an engineering diploma. And as a tennis buff, we all like our shiny new toys.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. But, if you stick with the same racket and you focus on your implementing the stroke,
Yes,
you will be a better tennis player.
yes,
So I think what they need to do is to focus on not so many new toys. So it's to choose on which toys to focus because you can, in a big organization, like you said, like Suncor, you can have the guy in production department go choose a toy, Wells department go choose, and none of these toys speak to each other. They're played with for 1 year. So back to the CEO of Suncor, he's got to look and see, I want to make sure that you implement the same forehand 100 times a day for the next 5 years. So you really maximize the value out of the tool.
Sorry. Yeah, that's absolutely great advice. So we need to wrap here. So why don't you tell us how can people follow you, and how do people find out more about Bumi Data?
Okay, I think the easiest way is to, if you're looking for occasional blips on data, there's Juarez Lowe is my LinkedIn handle, JuarezLowe. So if you just search that, you can add me on LinkedIn. Occasionally, if you want funny things, I'm also on Juarez Lowe 8 on Instagram.
Or if someone wants to see the beautiful landscapes of Bali, right?
Bali, Kuala Lumpur, or normally you see the view on the clouds in my office in the sky because I'm on a plane every 2 weeks.
Absolutely. Is that MES, or would you have a new wing you fly on these days?
It's whatever suits the schedule. Unfortunately, we haven't gone to the private yet, Steve.
Yeah. And when you do, make sure you invite me. So, and to follow SaaSberry, just look us up at SaaSberryLabs.com. Again, we're experts when it comes to adoption of AI within the enterprise space. So, thank you so much, Juarez. I really appreciate you joining me today, and I wish you a great evening. Actually, great morning. Sorry, it will be great evening for me. Great morning for you.
Thanks so much for having me, Steve.